Being ID, not just agenda.
Stop this.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Hello, everyone. I'd like to call the Town of Rochester Town Board November 13th, 2025 business meeting to order. If we can begin by standing and saying the pledge to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kate, could you do the roll call?
Councilman Albert, absent. Councilman Coleman,
Here.
Councilman Smeeth,
Here.
Councilman Lynch,
Here.
Supervisor Now.
Here. So we do have two public hearings tonight, but first, we have the acceptance of the agenda. So, I'd like to make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the agenda as prepared by the town supervisor with the following amendment. That we will add a resolution doing the seeker typing for our local laws. At the end of the resolutions, we'll add a discussion item for the resolution regarding that Alexis emailed the board. I forgot how to that.
Memorializing resolution.
Memorializing resolution.
Social services.
Yeah,
resolution.
well, add that as a discussion item.
Discussion.
Yep. And that was it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, so our first portion of our meeting is for public hearings. The public hearings are the formal opportunity for members of the public to offer testimony and evidence on specific proposed legislation. We have two proposed legislation tonight. And those are treated as separate public hearings, so I'll open each public hearing separately. And members of the public will speak on whichever public hearing is open at that time. I'm just gonna wait. We don't do question and answer during the public hearings. So we just received the comment. And then at the end, we can either hold the public hearing open or close it. We are not planning on adopting either local law tonight. And I'll just go ahead and open the public hearing for local law D of 2025, which is the accessory dwelling unit tax exemption legislation. So this is a piece of legislation that it was both linked in the agenda, it's posted on eCode 360 and is on the town website, that will provide a tax exemption for new accessory dwelling unit build. They have to be done, the build has to comply with our code. And there's it's basically a 10-year exemption that's phased in. So at this time, what I do is I open the public hearing to those that are in person and then move to those that are on Zoom. Great. So is there anyone here who would like to speak during the public hearing for local law D of 2025, the accessory dwelling unit tax exemption? Okay. Do we have anyone who's joined us via Zoom that would like to speak on the accessory dwelling unit tax exemption proposed legislation? So with that, I'll entertain a motion to hold the public hearing open for written comment till our next meeting, which is December.
Well, I make a motion to hold the public hearing open until for written comment only until our next meeting
December 11th.
on December 11th. At 6:30 PM at the Herald Community Center.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, our next local law E of 2025 is an amendment to the Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals. Alternate law, so this proposed legislation will allow the alternate to sit at the table of those boards. Is there anyone here who'd like to address the board for local law E of 2025? Do we have anyone present on Zoom that would like to speak on local law E of 2025? No.
Move that we keep the public comment period open until our next meeting on December 11th, 2025.
For written comment.
Written comments. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay. So that concludes our public comment portion of the meeting. And we're moving on to our business meeting agenda, which starts with reports. And then we have a public comment portion of the meeting after a reporting period, then town board member time, and then resolutions, and then discussion. The October financials were digitally shared with the board and the public. So I have the numbers for highway and general fund. I also submitted the year-to-date budget versus actual to the board and shared that with the public on the Google Drive. There's a link on the front of the agenda. If you look at the PDF, you can click the link and it takes you to that Google Drive folder. So the summary of those is general fund had $147,448.19 of revenue. Highway fund was $79,033.05 of revenue. For expenditures, general fund saw $232,553.43. Highway fund, $138,896.58. Capital fund, $98,435. Street lighting fund, $480.33. And ambulance fund, $95,917.50. Any questions about financials? Okay. Moving on, so I have town reports. So I have the supervisor report prepared. Talking points. So just some things that we've been working on, that I've mostly been working on, but in my office outside of the meetings. As you can tell from the agenda, we have quite a bit of Bridge New York activity before the board. For the Boyce Mill Road Bridge, we're finalizing the final property acquisitions, and I've actually am adding these vouchers for those purchases tonight. So these could get passed around and we could get signatures on that, so I can add those into our abstract. We are anticipating moving for the letting of the construction next month. So that's the bid process. Project 32 bridge replacement project is on tonight's agenda to do the tentative consultant selection. So we haven't, that one is I should have that listed last because has the least that has happened. Sundown Road Culvert is also on the agenda. We will be doing a discussion of the consultant scope of services and cost estimate proposal. I just wanted to give the board and the public a brief overview of the Bridge New York process. Hopefully, it's not too verbal. But these projects follow a long state-directed sequence. So it starts by, after the award has been issued, there are a number of initial planning documents that the project manager, which is me, prepares. That sets us up to be able to execute the award agreement with the New York State Department of Transportation. And then we commit the local funds. So those are all actions that we've taken on all three of these projects together as a board. Then we release a request for qualifications. Basically, there's a short list of engineers that the state has approved to be local, to do these local administered federal funded projects. So we are allowed to just send a request for qualifications from a specific list of approved consultants. And then there's a shorter process where we can do a scoring and do a selection from a scoring committee, which the board created earlier this year. We have the option to conduct interviews, but it is not required. And then after that tentative selection, which we have one of those on the agenda tonight, we negotiate the scope of services and cost proposal, which is what I just completed for the Sundown. So that's why for Sundown, that's what we're discussing. Then we enter into the consultant agreement process. There's a template and requirements for that agreement that I've shared with the board. Once the board has authorized that, once we've gotten to that point, then I can issue a notice to proceed for the consultant to do the design work. That process is then considered the preliminary design phase, and during that process is when there's public input. When the design is sort of finalized with what we want and the public wants, then the town approves that design, and then it goes off to the New York State Department of Transportation for approval. Once that happens, then we enter the final design phase, and that's like a second phase of final designs where everything is tightened up and the actual approval is issued from the DOT. During that period, also the right-of-way acquisitions happen if that's something that is needed for the project. And because with the Bridge New York projects being federal funding, there's a very specific way that we have to do right-of-way. So there's a very specific process that we have to follow. And then once that is completed, which is where we're at with the Boys Mill Bridge, then the bid package can go out, and that's the letting of the project. And then the selection happens. Once the selection happens, we do the notice to proceed, and then the construction and construction inspection portions of the project happen. So because we're in those three, it's like a really long process. These are 2 to 4 year long processes. And because we're in different stages with the different bridges, I thought it would be good to give the board an overview of it. We are steadily moving each project forward. Also of note, we had a Veterans Day ceremony on Tuesday. It was at the Veterans Park here at 50 Scenic Road, or there at Town Hall, sorry, not here, over at Town Hall at 50 Scenic Road. At the ceremony, we did two recognitions. One was to honor the VFW Kerhonkson Post 8959. And the certificate was accepted by veteran and town constable Mark Smith. We also recognized the volunteers who led the construction of Veterans Park in 2010. And that award was accepted by Manuela Mileshu, who's also our town photographer. We have also committed funds in the 2025 budget for a commemorative plaque of the Veterans Park that typically when there's a project like that, you would have something commemorating that the construction, and that never happened. So we had committed funds for that. I do have that moving along, and the goal, which we have plenty of time for this, but the goal is to have that installed before Memorial Day of 2026. Also during that ceremony, we read the honor roll editions. So those were names of veterans that were not in the original 2025 or 2023 honor roll when it was unveiled, and the crowd of the public and our veterans were very appreciative. So I'd like to offer a special thanks to Kate Gunberg for your dedication to the honor roll project. It's very significant and touching and meaningful, and I just want to thank you for that. I also wanted to thank everyone who attended, and most importantly, our veterans for their service. I am now the chair of the Ulster County Recycling Oversight Committee. I chaired my first meeting yesterday. On that committee, I represent town supervisors, so there's supposed to be a town supervisor on the committee. So that is the role that I fill. I have actually been on that committee for several years, and I'm excited to steer the committee now. My goal is to center the committee in the legislative charge that we have, which is approving regulated recyclables and also removing recyclables from the regulated list. Recycling, there's a recycling law in Ulster County, so recycling is actually mandated in Ulster County. It's illegal to not recycle, and part of this committee's role is oversight on compliance and numbers and data so that we can make those recommendations. We're also charged with receiving a quarterly report from the UCRRA Recycling Compliance Officer. So that is something that I will be making sure happens as part of that committee. And we are planning to work collaboratively with the UCRA and the county to increase compliance and evaluate opportunities to expand mandated recyclables. Just on a personal note, this has been one of my goals for a very long time, and I'm really excited to have that part of the work. And it's not a quick and easy process, and it's really incredible to see how complicated the waste industry is. But I'm really excited about this committee, and I think having the voice of the towns in that group is really important. Town facilities and operations update. We are doing a office refresh for my office, so that is underway. So we'll be getting some new furniture, rearranging the office so that we can comfortably accommodate 3 workstations in that small space, which now it's very crowded and sometimes you can't open the door because of where people are sitting. So we're hoping to address that and improve the workflow. It's also getting painted white, which I'm very excited about. For the court facilities work, I'm still unable to secure a contractor for the much needed work. I have now reached out to 12 contractors and have had 0 luck. So I just wanted to give that update publicly because we really are in need of someone to look at the floor and do that work for the town. We also, unfortunately, are needing to replace the heater in the dog kennel. It completely broke over the weekend. So right now we have a temporary solution, and we do have someone who is doing that work for us. But we're looking into options because the to replace that heater would be $1,500, and it's a propane heater that's pretty inefficient. So we're hoping we can do a mini split, which would be a lot more efficient, but there's only 110 service there. So we're limited in the size of mini split. So we're working with our HVAC person to make sure we make the right choice for that.
Would the mini split work in extreme cold weathers? At what
Yes.
temperatures?
To -32. Yep.
Do we share those costs with the other towns that we have shared services? Right?
They pay. What we have with the towns is they pay a kennel fee if any dogs from other towns are kept at our kennel. So we can look at that again, but that's what we have in our agreement. We don't have any other shared services. We do share a dog control officer with towns. And we can take a look at that, but equipment, it's the officer goes to the other towns, and so we are sharing the health insurance plan, things like that.
But you had talked about wanting to possibly do some upgrades there at some point, so maybe that's something we just addressed that.
If we build like a nicer facility that has more capacity, absolutely. But there's not a ton of capacity there, so.
Okay.
I'm happy to, I think it's a great thing to flag though. I don't want to be dismissive of that. So for I do have an update on the Town of Rochester Food Pantry. So we had an update at our last meeting that they had changed their operations to accommodate an increase in need. They actually are back to, I'm just pulling up the email. They're actually back to operating on a normal basis this week. They did, their two-pronged approach was increasing the benefit that they were offering to their guests. And then they were also opening up to serve more people outside of that. But that they didn't have a lot of showing for that additional offering. And they have returned to regular hours and regular distribution. So they are in good supply. They have had all their turkeys donated, and recently, you guys might have seen this, but the KFAS did a drive, and they donated everything to the Town of Rochester Food Pantry. So huge shout out to them for doing that. So, generously and quickly. A local company is also putting on a Christmas casino, and I was asked to share that with the board because it would be nice to have us there. So I can circulate that link. And that is it. And I think just a recognition that the community has really rallied.
They're also in the middle of their annual fundraising,
Oh, yes. Yeah.
and they're at about 17,500 so far.
Great. So correspondence, I've been getting a lot of outreach from several area contractors, because you're gonna announce this. Is it okay if I say it? Okay. As the board knows, we have a resignation of our code enforcement officer, and it's changing the schedule. Then also I think people just, that news is concerning. So I've received a lot of correspondence from that. I do have a lot of updates for the board, and it's a discussion item tonight. And then additionally, we received 2 letters that was circulated to the board at our last meeting. They're part of the public record for those meetings. One was a letter expressing concerns about the constable patrols and my role as the department head. And then we also received a letter regarding the fire police at Heritage Day. the board does have those. And that is it for supervisor report. Sorry, I've been talking a really long time. Kate?
Sure. So we are gearing up for tax collection in the next month. We've been corresponding with different escrow companies already, and that will be here before we know it. For the month of October, $92,852 was collected in town clerk. I did attend a meeting last month on records management, and that's where we discovered that it is a resolution on the agenda for tonight about the foil with disciplinary records. I also would love to see, by the December meeting, I'm gonna try to bring to you a sample email policy that I'd like us to work on. I think going into the 2026 year, I really would like to see us have a good email policy on record. So I will be working on that. And, the preliminary budget has been filed with the county, and the final adoption has to be by November 20th. I did receive a resignation from Michael Bannock for code enforcement officer and building inspector. And that's it.
Thank you, Kate. I don't have a highway report, and then department reports, we did receive, I have one department report. So this is from the constabulary, answered 12 direct calls for service. These included 8 neighbor-to-neighbor and quality of life complaints, 4 resident traffic complaints, 1 environmental complaint, and 9 court proceedings remain open. Patrols are temporarily not being scheduled, so October has an abbreviated report. All roads have continued to have high traffic volume. Municipal lots are seeing an increased number of vehicles after hours. The town park still has several vehicles after the park is closed. We continue to have multiple noise and traffic complaints regarding event spaces as well as short-term rentals. We experienced another rise in suspicious individual complaints along several town roads with an uptick in trespassing complaints. Short-term rental properties continue to generate many additional complaints, most notably trespassing, driveway parking blockages, and garbage dumping on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. The number of neighbor complaints has decreased this month, and all have been diffused without further action necessary. Town board committee and board reports. So council member Alba is not here, so I will punt to Councilman Coleman.
Okay, so planning board, they had a regular meeting earlier this week. There were a number of comments related to a specific application that has had a public hearing ongoing. I think, from a board perspective, it's worth, if you haven't watched the meeting, watching that and listening to some of the concerns. It's related to a cell tower in town, and I think, it may be something that we want to look at in terms of addressing in terms of future zoning, possibly giving concerns about locations where those types of structures are in town. I had to postpone, or we had to postpone our check-in that we had scheduled a few weeks ago because of scheduling conflicts. So my plan is to be here tomorrow to sit down with the chair and the vice chair and our planner to talk through any issues that they're seeing, anything that the town board should be thinking about and addressing. So I'll have more of an update next time. Zoning Board of Appeals, nothing major. They do have a public hearing scheduled next Thursday, which is the 20th, I think. The notice for that is on the website. Ambulance Improvement District. So we actually submitted earlier today the letter to the county, which was both squads had requested changes to how some of the dispatches were happening in areas of town where it made more sense for one squad to be dispatched than another. So put together a letter essentially documenting what the requested changes were. Supervisor Allen signed it. The 2 chiefs from each squad signed it. We sent that over to Ulster County EMS today. They said that was everything they needed. It's going to involve a data push to their CAD system to update how the dispatches happen. And that should be happening at some point in December. And so they told us they would update us when that happens. We got the feedback on the contract from Mary Lou. I actually incorporated some other comments that I received from the board. And we're actually gonna forward that on to Ulster County EMS just to get their thoughts on that, since the county is now taking more of a role in terms of providing funding. So we're gonna see if they have any additional things that they think we should do there. And hopefully we'll hear back from them and be able to get that out to the squads and moving. Free exchange, I checked in, sounds like things are running well there. I know that they also had the clothing exchange, I think it was this past weekend, and they had a significant amount of people come out to that. I think they were saying something like 200 people were coming to shop for some of the free clothing there, shop in quotes for free clothing. Everything is donated. So obviously great news there. Appreciate all the volunteers at both locations that have been doing that. I think, the more that we can do to help divert some of that waste and actually get it to people who can use it, the better. I also actually got a call, I know I brought up a couple weeks ago, can't remember what they're called, but the repair workshops that happen various sites around the county. So I'm actually gonna check in with the person in Marbletown who's been helping to coordinate that next week and get a little bit more details about that to see if that's something that we would want to jump on one of the neighboring towns that's doing something, or potentially host something here for residents to come. And
We would like to host 2 to 4.
2 to 4 a year. Okay. So that's next Tuesday, so hopefully we'll get some more details about that. Bring that back to the board for discussion. That is everything.
Great. We skipped over you, Councilwoman Smeeth.
So I only have one report for tonight. I think the double meeting kind of threw some of my committees. So for elder care, they did receive some calls regarding information for county programs. Where they were all directed to the appropriate agency, and they did receive a weekend call. That ended up needing a state police response, which they encouraged the resident to call them, but on top of that, the elder care program receiving end, they called the New York State Police to also dispatch them to that location. It's an ongoing investigation, so I won't say anything else, but I just appreciate them making sure that services were dispatched to the proper address for that resident during the emergency. And I don't have anything from the rec department written up, so I'm gonna look awful trying to do this off the top of my head, but we have the Thanksgiving luncheon coming up. That is next Friday from 11 to 1 here at the Harold Lemon Community Center. Call 845-626-2115 to sign up. That's all I have off the top of my head. I'm so sorry. Housing Committee is meeting next week. I will be attending their meeting. I was not able to attend their meeting last month, so I will have updates for everything for December.
Right.
We're working with the justices to prioritize repairs and capital expenditures in line with the JCAP grant. And I know that they are meeting on Monday with the camera system contractor in Ellenville, whose name escapes me.
Okay,
I'm not able to attend that, but they wanted to get an assessment, I guess.
okay. We should make sure we don't have cross, because I've contacted Fish about that.
Okay, I didn't know that. So the HPC, they did a tour of historic Markle House on Burnham Road. The committee discussed using the community preservation plan as a guide for, in the future, doing awards for stewardship and land preservations. They are already talking future Hamlet talks for the spring for Whitfield and Accord. And the committee discussed officer roles and responsibilities in the budget for 2026. As far as historian, we were able to add 30 names to the back of the Veterans Honor Roll 2025. And I was able to sit in on the Rooted Rooted
Oh,
in
great.
Rochester forum today, and there's 25 people in attendance. It was, I think, very well received. Everyone went around the room and stated how long they lived in the town, what brought them to the town, what's their favorite things about the town, their concerns with preserving a lot of the land and waterways. And it was just a really good network of people to start the conversation. And they are doing a wreath making class December 7th at the firehouse as well. And everyone in the town is welcome to attend that as well. But I thought it was a really good start for their first forum.
Or Firehouse Cake.
Yeah. It's the 7th, and I can't remember the time, but I'm trying to think. She did make flyers. I'll have to look and get that to you. But it's a good start, I thought. For the first one.
One thing, thank you guys. One thing I forgot in my supervisor's report. That maybe we can tack on as an agenda item. Stacy, my clerk, has been working on making sure that a database that I created for members of our advisory and public body boards is up to date. So she did an assessment of terms that are coming up in 2025. And I think we should next month decide how we want to handle. Usually at the beginning of the year, we do a big push around reappointments and vacancies. We have a number of people who have terms that are expiring. And I think, to me, that's a process that the board should agree on. We've had a convention that anyone that's a member just automatically, if they want, they just automatically get reappointed if they would like that. But I feel like that's something that we should actively be discussing if we want that to continue as our practice, or if we want to implement a new practice.
Dave, do we have that list of the veterans roll somewhere?
Yeah, I do.
People were asking for certain names and it's not alphabetical, so I wonder if it's something we can put up on the website or something alphabetically.
It was alphabetical for 2023, but moving forward, adding names, I kept it in alphabetical, but obviously at the end. But yes, I do have that, and we can put that on the website.
Yeah, I'll talk to you about it.
Okay. So now we're at the public comment portion of our meeting. This is the part of our meeting where we invite the public to address the board, either in person or on Zoom. We handle this similar to how we do public hearings, so it's not a question and answering session or debate or discussion among members of the public. So you may ask us questions, but we won't respond during the public comment portion of the meeting. However, our next agenda item is called Town Board Member Time, and that is the time where if board members want to address anything that was said in the public comment portion, they can do so at that time. They can also talk about other things during that time, but I always encourage people that are here to make a public comment to just stay at least through that agenda item, because you might hear some thoughts or feedback from board members on those comments. So with that, I will open the public comment portion of the meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board? Okay.
Hi, so my name is Joe DeAngelis. I'm a pretty good sized developer here in the town. And I have concerns about the absence of a code enforcement officer / building inspector. I booked as many inspections as I can. Well, this week and the last one being the 24th, which is my second last day. I know it's New York state law that a licensed engineer is allowed to do building inspections for milestone portions. It's not really something that's used, very often, only in situations where no one's available and they're pouring concrete and we need someone to go out and look. But in the absence of the inspector, I know that the code enforcement office kind of placed it on the board to say if that was gonna be allowed or not. To utilize like a private engineer inspector for myself, I don't, you know, although it's gonna cost me money. And I paid the fee for the inspection. I'm more concerned with my clients and my own homes that are gonna be going up for sale. You know, every day that the house isn't able to be inspected because I'm not able to, you know, move on to the next step. You know, costs thousands of dollars a day. So, that's something I wanted to see if that's gonna be an accepted practice until you are able to hire somebody to fill the spot. And if so, you know, when we could, you know, start that, you know, I have the list of the milestone inspections that have to be done, but. You know, I know I probably speak on behalf of all of us, all the developers in the town and anyone building that. You know, it's getting into winter, so drying up the house, you know, getting everything, you know, sealed up and the heat on is very important at this time, so. That's my comment, I just wanted to see if, you know, make you guys aware and if that would be allowed or not.
Is there anyone else who'd like to address the board? Okay. Do we have anyone who's joined us on Zoom that would like to address the board? Okay, so I will close the public comment portion of the meeting. If the board would allow me to just give you an update on that situation, and then I can, if anything you guys want to share. So yes, we are investigating all options to try to, as quickly as we can, make sure we have proper coverage for inspections and code enforcement. It's a incredibly important role. I do have it as a discussion item for the town board, but I just want to mention, I am working on a shared services arrangement with another town. And then I am also, we're contacting firms who can do structural inspections. Now, we have to have the town board okay those firms. So the soonest, because I wasn't able to get anyone who could commit to that by tonight, the soonest that could happen would be next Wednesday when I'm gonna be scheduling a special meeting for other reasons. But hopefully we'll have a shared services agreement and that by next week. So I am trying as quickly as possible to get something in place, and thank you for your comments. Okay, just you guys don't have that information yet, but now it's town board member time. This is your time.
I yield.
Okay,
I remember everything else there.
okay. All good? Okay. So, oh, shoot, I forgot to fill this in. Resolutions. And I'm sorry, you probably needed something from me.
I just needed adjournment.
Yes, I did not bring out.
We can table it till next week.
We could table that one.
Okay.
And then accept the others. Okay, sorry, my computer's being slow. Do you happen to have the dates? I do. Okay.
The Town of Rochester Town Board accepts and approves the minutes of the 10-9 business meeting, the 10-21 budget meeting, the 10-23 workshop meeting. We'll table the 10-24 and the 10-27 budget meeting is circulated by the town clerk.
I'll make that motion.
So again.
Any discussion?
Thanks, Dave. That'll first.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, motion carries. Oh, perfect. Okay, so I'll make a motion that the town board accepts the donations from the Rochester Residents Association in the amount of $200 for Thanksgiving turkeys, St. Polly's Textile in the amount of $176.21. And $25 for the youth Halloween party with appreciation to the donors.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm staying here.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Acceptance of the abstracts. So I just included those acquisition vouchers. So I'll make the motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the November 2025 abstract and approves the payments in the following amounts. General fund is $54,766.60. And that's the unpaid. Prepaid bills was $1,562.75. Highway fund expenditures are $25,687.71. Capital fund was $0. Street lighting fund, $507.66. And escrow is $7,699.02.
Second. Or motion?
She
A
motioned.
second.
Oh, so it's the same.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. The next. I forgot to double check. We are at 5, right?
I believe so, but I'm not sure if the community preservation plan, since it passed, does that get that number before we still wait for it to be certified?
Well, that's what I was wondering because we also numbered the local law that didn't pass.
Right, which I think that would have been 5,
Mhm.
because then the preservation
Yeah.
was 6. So I don't know if the preservation plan becomes 5.
I guess it becomes whatever it is when they do it, right?
Yeah, they order them
this will-
anyway for us, right?
What's that?
Don't they renumber them anyway? When we.
Well, they kind of go in
Kinda
order
go
as
in
they
order as
receive
they
them.
receive them, right?
Yeah, so this is gonna go out first, so this would be 5. It was recommended by Mary Lou that we wait till the county certifies the election before we send the local law. So they told me that would still be at least 2 weeks.
Okay. So this would be 5?
I-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we can probably rename it. Okay, so. So. We're renaming local law F of 2025 to local law 5 of 2025. So whereas the town of Rochester has held a duly noticed public hearing on proposed local law 5 of 2025 entitled a local law to override the tax levy limit established in general municipal law 3C. And I'm adding this. Whereas this local law is type 2 under seeker and no review is required. Whereas the purpose of this local law is to authorize the town board to adopt a budget for the fiscal year 2026 that requires a real property tax levy in excess of the limit set by general municipal law 3C if necessary. And whereas the public hearing having been closed and all comments duly considered. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Rochester hereby adopts local law 5 of 2025, a local law to override the tax levy limit established in general municipal law 3C. And be it further resolved that the town clerk that is requested, to file said local law with New York State Department of State as required.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, so we're gonna do the, I'll make the next motion as presented with the following, consultant name is Barton and Laguidis.
That's the way to read it.
In the two books.
Yes.
So this is our tentative. So do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Give you a second. Hi, Alexis. We are on page 4 of the agenda. Yeah, last page. We're on F. Okay, so, I'll entertain a motion authorizing the town supervisor to sign and execute the closing documents.
Make that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Just want to make sure for the next one, before or were there any edits that anyone wanted to see
In the foil document.
in the foil?
Go ahead. Maybe not an edit, but question.
There is.
Um. So in notification requirement, we say notification shall occur after the records are released. I think that should be a defined period of time, like within 5 days of records being released. I personally think the notification should happen before they go out, even if it's like right before they go out, but I don't know how the board feels, but. I don't think we should leave it open-ended in terms of. Just after.
I don't know why, but I feel like I read somewhere that you can't tell them before they're released,
Yeah.
but
I was wondering if it might be.
I'm like, didn't know if I'm just thinking.
We can still do it after, I just think we should have something,
No,
be a week, 2 weeks.
I agree with that in there. I mean, I'm even fine within 5 days of the records being released.
Okay. In the content of notification, town will provide to the employees a copy of any records released to the FOIL requester. I don't know if we should say in a format chosen by the records officer so that people don't demand things in print, or so like the records officer can make a call whether they want to provide electronic versions of that.
Is that necessary because the records officer isn't required to create records? Only required to release records that are already.
Do I think it's necessary? No, but is it going to be something that people might take issue with? I don't know. I like more clarity in those things so it doesn't turn into a thing, but I don't think it's necessary.
The person doing the FOIL request has to specify whether they want a digital record or whether they want to just view them, right? Or whether they want a physical copy, which we can charge them for. So I think that's what that is. So you're just matching. Because if they said they just wanted to view them, then you would notify the employee and they would come view them, right?
Yes.
Does this only apply to employees or does it also apply to members, of boards, commissions, etc.?
It's just employee.
Well, members of
Well,
boards,
they are
commissions, and
considered employees,
et cetera are considered employees under New York state law. Learning the ins and outs of this stuff.
What about volunteers? That are not members of the board or commission?
They're not considered employees.
I think it would just be planning, zoning, it's the.
Anyone whose body is
Public, yeah.
a created by local law.
HPC, I would say.
But what I'm saying is, do we need to extend the coverage of this to volunteers who are not members of the such boards? So if I'm,
Like on advisory boards.
well, no, say I'm volunteering to serve at a Thanksgiving luncheon and
Right.
there's a big whatever that creates a document. And if I am one of the people who is covered by that document release, do I have the right, and does the town have the obligation, or should the town have the obligation to notify me that those records are released?
Is that, in that question you're asking, is that something that would be considered a disciplinary record?
No,
Because this only applies to disciplinary records.
or personnel related. If it relates to a person, it's particularly a personnel related. record. But then you're stepping into a maze of all sorts of things where if anyone's mentioned in a record that's released, would they be notified? I'm not saying one is necessary, I'm just saying that, I'm just raising a question.
Where's personnel on this?
Hmm?
Where's personnel? on this?
In the summary, seeks access to disciplinary and personnel related records pertaining to them. In the agenda.
Well, we can scratch that because that was just me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think personnel is mentioned in the actual policy.
Yeah. We can just-
And then it wasn't, I was trying to read the definition of disciplinary records. The town of Rochester will utilize the definition of law enforcement disciplinary records as provided in Public Officers Law 86, Section 6, applying the definition to disciplinary records of non-law enforcement employees. So is that saying that we're going to treat any disciplinary record according to the standard of law enforcement disciplinary records? Or
There, did you look up that section?
yeah, but it wasn't clear what we were saying about, like, what's the relationship here between disciplinary records and law enforcement disciplinary records? Because there might be more restrictions on law enforcement disciplinary records.
It's the definition that is in that section of code. Or
Applies to
law.
what?
Is what we're using as the definition of disciplinary record. So I'll read it.
So we'll have records that are also not law enforcement disciplinary records, right? So that's my question. Are we treating any employee disciplinary record according to the standard of the definition of law enforcement disciplinary records?
Or are we just treating their background checks? As what needs to be alerted them? That's all.
So so what it's saying is we're going to use the law enforcement disciplinary record definition and apply that and say that's what we mean when we mean disciplinary records for all people.
Covered employees.
So
That's what I'm asking.
the complaints, allegations and charges against an employee, the name of the employee complained of or charged, the transcript of any disciplinary trial or hearing, including any exhibits introduced at such trial or hearing, the disposition of any disciplinary proceeding, and the final written opinion or memorandum supporting the disposition and discipline imposed, including the agency's complete factual findings and its analysis of the conduct and appropriate discipline of the covered employee.
So essentially we're saying the disciplinary record itself could be redacted to the extent that law enforcement disciplinary records are redacted according to. Like you can remove things that are would cause harm to, or there's something about like personal identifying information,
privacy.
right?
Well,
Thank you.
FOIL still applies.
Yeah, but all I'm trying to understand is like the relationship between that definition of law enforcement records and disciplinary records, and I think you've answered it. This is saying that we're treating the disciplinary records according to the same standards in Public Officers Law 86-6, where they define law enforcement disciplinary records.
Well, we're not treating them, we're defining disciplinary record as those documents.
Okay,
Does that?
I guess I'm trying to understand what other non-law enforcement disciplinary records would be.
We're saying that there's this great definition of disciplinary records that's used, that's called law enforcement disciplinary records. And we're saying, I understand this, right? Correct? We're just gonna use that definition to define all the disciplinary records, regardless of whether or not you're a law enforcement personnel or a highway employee.
Maybe we just say, instead of applying, say as the definition of disciplinary records of non-law enforcement employees. I understand what we're saying. I think it's confusing in terms of like the way this reads to me. But if everyone else is fine, I mean, maybe I'm just.
Town of Rochester. What's the definition? How about we say the town of Rochester will utilize the definition of law enforcement disciplinaries to identify those records.
By this policy.
Yeah,
Okay.
does that make sense?
What, if there is a FOIL request and there are no documents produced? Is the subject of that inquiry notified?
So are you asking if there are no records that exist, like they're not produced? And if someone's like requesting like a record of complaint for somebody and there is
Yeah.
no record?
Yeah.
Do we still have to let
Yeah.
that person know? I would think so because, well, I think the law is the release of them actually.
Well, I mean, release of or response to.
Yeah. Responding to a request, so I would say yes.
And then it would probably be the same if there were things that were not released, but you identified that there is a
Redacted.
record.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So any response to an inquiry related to a covered person would be notified.
Yeah.
Okay, so the change, should we review the changes we're making? Okay, so the first one is, did we decide 5 days?
I think it's,
I think 5 days is fine, that's kind of the date, 5 days is the period of time I have to. Respond to the requester, so if it stays the same 5 days, it's fine.
And you have 5 days after the records are released to let them know, to
Right,
notify them.
right.
Okay, so we're.
So I was
gonna-
just thinking if it stays within the 5. I
Yeah,
have-
exactly. You'll remember that. So notification shall occur within 5 days of the records
after, right.
being
Of the
released.
response.
Yeah,
It's not the records being released, it's the response.
notification shall occur within 5 days of the
Records officer's response
records.
to such FOIL request.
Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. Um. Then. I felt like we were okay leaving it as is. For the content of the notification, okay. And then the last change would be in definition of disciplinary records, it's gonna be town of Rochester will utilize. How about the town of Rochester will utilize those records identified. In the definition of law enforcement disciplinary records as provided in Public Officers Law 86-6. And
When,
as, oh, go ahead.
when determining what disciplinary records of non-law enforcement employees should be released.
Or, yeah. When determining. When identifying,
Okay, when I did,
when identifying
which,
those records that are disciplinary records of non-law enforcement.
should be released.
No, it's not, should be released, it's just the definition of the record. The release part is different.
Can you read it, Kate? Did you get it?
Huh,
Did you?
I'll listen to the tape.
Okay.
Okay, okay. So I'd like to make the motion. Whereas the records management officer / town clerk has requested the town board adopts a policy ensuring employees are notified. When a FOIL request seeks access to their disciplinary records or to disciplinary records pertaining to them. Be it resolved that the town board of the town of Rochester hereby adopts the policy on employee notification of disciplinary records. Request under FOIL as presented and amended in the meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. So I wanted to add, two like resolutions. So I would like to make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board classifies local law F of 2025. Nope,
No, local
classifies, sorry,
five.
local law, no. Local law. The front of my agenda is missing. It's the ones we had the public hearing on. Where's the front of my agenda? Local law D?
Yeah, I think it's Ian.
Yeah,
Or,
but didn't we just make F5?
don't worry about F. It has nothing to do with F. I'll make that classifies local law D of 2025 accessory dwelling unit tax exemption as type 2 under seeker and requires no further review.
Second.
So we'll do a roll call.
Yeah. Councilman Alba,
Aye.
Councilman Coleman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Speaceth,
Aye.
Councilman Nguyen,
I,
Supervisor Noah.
Aye. So the second resolution is the Town of Rochester Town Board finds that local law E of 2025 amendment to the planning board and zoning board of appeals alternate is classified as type 2 under seeker and requires no further review.
I'll make that motion or second.
Any discussion? A roll call vote?
Councilman Alba,
Aye.
Councilman Coleman, Councilwoman Speaceth,
Aye.
Councilman Nguyen,
I,
Supervisor Noah.
Aye. Guys, okay. Moving on to, okay, so for the final budget, I have some updates for you guys, but as you know, I do not feel ready to adopt the final budget tonight, so
We're skipping the second public comment.
yeah,
No one's here, so.
thanks. Do you want me to officially do that?
No,
Okay.
I just did.
Would you like to make a
I-
public comment?
I just officially did.
Okay. You guys are in for a treat at the end of December. Okay.
Real treat or is that a sarcastic?
Oh, it was a sarcastic. I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of flavor you like.
bring you a crown.
That's what kind of person.
So I would like us to schedule that meeting as a resolution, but for some updates, what I have been able to do is, I'm trying to schedule a meeting with bond counsel to just review the plan I came up with the principal payment and the issuance costs that I came up with, and also the amount of the ban that I'm proposing, and see what he thinks, and also whether or not I budgeted enough for his services. So hopefully I will get that scheduled in the next couple of business days. I did find out that I did my own research, and under New York State finance law, I believe 150, we cannot not apply the Bridge New York reimbursement to the ban. So whatever the Bridge New York reimbursement is, if we took out a ban to float those costs, we have to, which I had a feeling that was the case.
Apply it to the principal.
We have to apply it to the ban. As soon as we get it, basically. So the way that I have it structured is the only way that we can do it, basically. Our wiggle room, of course, is just actual numbers. The video is turned off.
Trying to figure out what.
Oh,
It's not centered.
okay. And then that's the biggest thing. Otherwise, it's just, I'm just putting in actuals. Unless, I just also wanted to see if there was anything that you guys wanted to see, or just continue with the plan that we came up with last week.
Nothing to add. I know that you're doing all you can to minimize the pain of our fiscal situation or revenue situation.
Yeah.
And I know that you're researching every avenue.
Yeah, I know that we're gonna be able to reduce general by at least 100,000. Well, not reduce, but adjust it. So, but we'll just kind of, I have to see what, I know I found some cuts in highway, just with Highway Secretary Boughton got back to me, so we got quotes for the engineering costs, so we can, if we're conservative, we can cut that expense line by $10,000, but I'm kind of leaning more towards just 5, just so we have the funds available, but so I'm tracking that. So basically at the meeting, we do need to make sure that all the changes from the preliminary to the final are documented and everyone knows what those are. So I'll probably want to just review those. I'm guessing it's not going to be more than like 15 lines. The only thing that might change is me moving all this stuff into capital fund, which is not something I've done, and there isn't, no budgets have ever been actually set up in the QuickBooks capital fund. So the budgeting that's been done in capital fund in the past has just been like a little list of things, whereas this is a much more detailed like budget with acquisitions and things like that. So I've reached out to our accountant to make sure that I do that right, because we still have to show the tax levy. It's basically a transfer. Everything looks the same except it transfers over to general, or it transfers over to capital. So that would probably be the biggest change. All right, so then what I want to do though is, because some of these pending code enforcement things, if we're in a position where we could make a decision on Wednesday, I want to make that an option for us. So I'd like to make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board schedules a special workshop meeting on Wednesday, November 19th at 7 p.m. at the Harold Lipton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road. And request the clerk circulate notice.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So we will keep that meeting to an hour or less. But we will need to go through any changes to the final budget together. And I'm gonna try to get that to you by Sunday at 4 p.m. Okay. I already kind of gave this update. Do you guys have any thoughts or questions about the code enforcement officer position solutions? I can tell you in more detail what I've been going through, but
So we have the shared services option, we have the professional services option, and we've advertised for the position.
I have received 2 qualified applicants from our post. I also requested the list of eligibles from Ulster County, because if we hire for the position in a specific way, it's competitive under civil service, which means there's an eligibility list. The public version of that list has 3 names that are not appointed to other positions among the different positions. So it's municipal code officer / building inspector is competitive. We currently have code enforcement officer, but it's the same. We can use it as the same thing. And then building inspector full-time is competitive. And then there's another one I forget, it's different,
Is code enforcement officer competitive?
not part-time. And building inspector. One. Part-time is not competitive, so we have not gone from the list, and I think I wasn't fully understanding all these different options we had. In May, but if we go with that route and there's an eligible. Person who has. Scored properly and has all the requirements, and they want the job, we have to appoint them. So I'm getting that list and first thing you do is you call and see if they're interested, and then you can interview them. I mean, you can interview them, you're not forced, but you have to have a reason not to appoint them. So I'm investigating that option. We have 2 qualified applicants, so I wanted to, but it has taken a while for those to trickle in. So I wanted to see, one, how you guys want to handle interviews. The next bit is, I'm hopefully meeting with one of our neighboring towns and their code enforcement officer to talk about shared services. Think everybody thinks it's a possibility, but I haven't actually had those conversations yet. So what I've expressed is that would be a temporary measure. Just if we did that, then we could kind of instantly have,
Yes.
yeah,
So if we hired somebody, we'd have the shared services anyway while they're onboarding.
exactly.
Could we do interviews on Wednesday?
Yeah,
Of those 2 applicants,
If you'd like to schedule it.
we could, it might make the meeting longer.
You know, we gotta get.
I think it's pretty important.
So we're hiring one person for the 2 positions. As it's been. Done in the past, is that correct?
No, we don't have to do it that way.
But. Okay, so we haven't decided that, we have the option of hiring
2
2
part-times.
people for, right?
Or
And
2
if we-
full-time, I mean, like, well,
But in either case. The building department, well, if we hired a full-time building inspector, you're saying it would be competitive.
Mhm.
But if we have one person that's doing both roles,
it's not competitive.
not a big,
I don't think so. I have to if there's so many. I can double check. I can actually look right now, but. I think basically what I'm expressing is that we kind of have options to work around whatever. Candidate or candidates we think are the best. So the other piece of this, which I am continuing to investigate. So this is a wide spectrum of an option. You can contract with a professional services, like as a professional service, an engineering firm to actually even run your code enforcement office. That's probably the most expensive and least desirable option because they obviously aren't
Right.
our town. And then the other end of that is having an engineering firm that handles specific structural inspections. And apparently a lot of towns do this. That their building inspector and code enforcement officers aren't handling certain structural inspections. So
do they roll that into the fee then?
yes, it would be part of the fee. So we were recommended, I've gotten a lot of names of firms, but our attorney actually, there's one firm that's regional, that's in our area that she said is very, very good. And if they have the capacity, she highly recommends that we go with that firm. So we put the calls out, but I haven't had a conversation yet. But we did the outreach. There are other options, there are other firms, but I have heard, if we have a list that we want to go off of, then we kind of get into. If it's professional services, we can just hire who we want. We don't have to do the bid process. But if we wanted to, we can. So that's just something to think about. Our town planner offered to draft a scope for me, so I'm gonna actually have him do that. So that would just be, what are we looking for with that service?
I was actually gonna ask, do we want to involve him in the interview process?
We could. This was actually his suggestion originally that sparked me to go down this rabbit hole, so.
I would like to see the bid process, even if we're not required. I think it's an important role, an important part of our town's government role. And oversight of the code enforcement office, it has to do with the safety of people's homes, so I think that we should responsibly at least get more than one to at least review their information.
Or even a
Yeah.
RFQ. We
Yeah,
can
yeah,
have-
RFQ,
okay,
maybe a
yeah.
quick quote, yeah, it doesn't have to be as serious to go to, but at
Yeah.
least to get us options so that like
Yeah.
due diligence wise, we
Okay.
went through and at least checked multiple. Also, God forbid. So we can say that we checked them all in case anything
Yeah.
happens, so that we.
No, I think that's a good
Have everything
call.
else come.
And they mostly probably already, it's not like a huge ask to ask an engineering firm for that,
Oh, yeah,
because they usually have that stuff.
yeah, they have them pretty easy boilerplate to go. Also don't stop on my behalf, but I have to call and check in, so
Oh,
I'm
okay.
gonna excuse myself outside for a moment.
All right, so I will see about, for those interviews though, you guys, do you wanna do that earlier than,
Earlier than 7.
what do you think?
I'm free anytime, so.
It would be, might be hard for me to get there. 6:30 would probably, but
Well, I can reach out and see when those.
I can also let you know tomorrow. Figure out if we can do. Conversations. Actually, it's Wednesday.
Then I would.
I could do earlier.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. Yeah, after school's till 5:30, so we would wanna, it would probably be like 5:30, 5:45, and I would just schedule a special meeting myself ahead of the one that we just scheduled.
Yeah.
And so I can reach out to the two applicants that I received.
Do you want to also say Dave? Yeah.
To sit in the code enforcement officer interview?
Well, I guess we could just do.
We're gonna have to have a second interview with, or second something with other personnel, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think building inspector is. Important.
Then a code enforcement
No,
officer.
to have him involved in the interview.
I see. Town planner? Rather than the code enforcement officer.
Very much.
Okay, all right, never mind.
I think I would like to have him involved in the interviews that we have, or at least see if he handled it.
And then I'm hoping that maybe something with the shared services can get figured out by Wednesday also, but I can circulate it. The agreement should be more robust than like our highway shared services agreement. But right now, the only thing the other town wants is to make sure that we're just paying the wages. So it's not gonna be, because it's temporary, we're not like negotiating health insurance costs or anything like that. So I have a template. I can circulate that to you guys, but also the other supervisor might be proposing an agreement also, so.
Presumably we can find someone.
Hmm?
That presupposes that we find someone.
For the shared services agreement? Well, I have a very strong lead. I just haven't had that meeting yet.
You're not there yet.
Right. Okay, so the next thing, are we ready to move on? Okay. So. We have somewhat of a, I think, difficult decision to make. Let me explain. I included the scope of services document with that was prepared from Tectonic regarding the Sunbelt Culvert project. Now, it is a very dry read. I am familiar with this document because I've been through it a couple times. The first time I read it, I felt like I was reading a different language. Now I kind of understand it. I don't feel that you guys have to fully have understood everything in that document. But I can kind of give you an overview of why I have this on the agenda and why I'm not just wanting to move forward and say, yes, let's go. I put in front of you this printout, which is after a call I had with Mark from Tectonic. The first page of the scope of services that I put in the Dropbox has a narrative that I wrote. I mean, I did write it, but a narrative and then a really simple cost breakdown where the anticipated design costs are $370,000. The construction inspection costs are not included. We did that as a supplemental agreement to the scope of services, but the liberal estimate for those services is $275,000. We are utilizing the anticipated construction costs that were provided by me, which was what the engineering firm that prepared our application came up with. Now, while that number is accurate as of the award, what Mark told me is that I should basically estimate an increase of, I think he said 4% a year of that. And so we came up with an updated table of expenditures. Our award amount is not to exceed $995,000. And, you know, this is a reimbursement, so we float everything and then we get paid for it. So the grant application came out to $995,000. What Tectonic is proposing comes out to 1.395 million, which means we would be responsible for $395,000 for the culvert. Hmm?
300,000.
I think it's, when I added it up, it was like 340.
Pretty much.
Yeah, 395, 1 million, it's actually it's actually more like 400. Because 1 million is $5,000 above. Now when I,
Interest, you have to take a loan out on that float.
so for this, I have the design costs incorporated into the 2026 budget. And that is part of the ban, but we are getting reimbursed for the design costs. We get reimbursed as we go. So the design costs, we are 100% getting reimbursed for those. And those are gonna come in monthly. So honestly, we probably won't have a cash flow issue with the $370,000 because they send us an invoice for $5,000, we get reimbursed 4 weeks later. It just, the design phase is very handleable financially. Now, the construction and construction inspection is gonna be $1 million. And that's gonna be in 2027. So those expenses will be in 2027. So that is when we would have this $400,000 culvert expense that the town has to pay out of pocket.
So they agree with the construction estimate?
He did. It's very expensive. Now, I did have a, Mark was very honest and straightforward. I felt. He said typically the towns end up paying less out of pocket for a Bridge New York project. And if we were to build it on our own, he does think it would probably cost us more than $400,000 if we did it right. Now, for something that would last a long time. Can we repair that culvert or do something to that culvert for less money? I mean, I think we know that we can, because we just spent $87,000. Well, plus $45,000, because that culvert cost $45,000. We just spent like $120,000 on a culvert, which is totally different type of culvert, but so what I just wanted to bring up, and one of the reasons why I did that overview is we pay out of pocket, we're gonna spend way less money than $1.3 million, right? Because the Bridge New York project, it's federal, locally administered federal funds. So everything is to federal specs. So there's a lot that goes into these projects that we wouldn't do. There is stuff that we would have to do. We would have to hire an engineer. We would have to I have a feeling if our highway department didn't want to install the Queens Highway culvert, they're not going to want to install this. So we'd have to do a bid. And then you are supposed to have an engineer on site doing inspection. So we would still have to pay for those things. If we were to do it the right way. Now, in his opinion, we would probably end up, not spending less money than $400,000, but we could probably also do something for less than that. So I guess that's
So,
do we reject the
so,
award?
so the bottom line is, do we spend $400,000 out of it and do it ourselves or less? Or do we accept the grant and spend $400,000?
No, it would probably be more than $400,000 for us to do it ourselves, the way that I described. But we could probably do something for less, but whether or not. One of the reasons why we're in the situation we're in, because a lot of the structures that are failing are actually like not that old. So,
They were built to spec.
yeah.
Final spec.
So, this is gonna be something that probably, in Mark's words, this is probably gonna last 100 years. Now,
Too bad we can't pay for it over 100 years.
yeah, so that is something we could add to a ban, we can also use, for the construction expenses, CHIPS covers you can use CHIPS for the amount not covered. So it could, be something where if a lot of road work gets done
But
next
then
year.
that sort of takes money away from doing current year repairs. For something.
Yeah, if there were a schedule.
Yeah.
Then we would have a more informed decision before us. So I wanted to get your feedback,
Can we,
and I can tell you where I'm at, but I wanted to hear from you guys first.
Can we not make adjustments on what we're asking for to lower some of the design costs? Like,
That's all required.
well, like one thing that they have in here is design one feasible alternative. If we have a viable option, do we need to have them design a whole other alternative? And I mean, how much expense is that?
So the reason to do that is because it's possible that their alternative to the proposal will cost less. Which is what I talked to Mark about today,
They
but
should just only design the cheaper one.
we applied for a specific. We applied for a specific
I prefer.
type of design.
But they're gonna design an alternative that might be cheaper. That's fine.
I mean,
If it needs to be,
government work is incredibly frustrating and I am not I'm not being resistant to your ideas out of stubbornness. I'm saying they go with the design that we have and then usually you do 1 to 2 additional design proposals. Now, I don't know if you remember voicemail, but we had 3. We ended up with a totally different bridge. So.
they wanted it wide and straight.
Yeah.
The other thing that made me nervous is that section 6. They say piles are assumed to not be required. If they are required for any reason, additional design effort is required to support more detailed design. And then I don't know. I don't know how confident, or if they're confident that they're not gonna be needed, or leaning towards they're not gonna be needed, but. If that's gonna increase the design costs and potentially the construction costs. I think that's.
I can look, we did talk about that in our meeting, and because it says concrete box culvert. We won't need piles, but.
Yeah, like if they put that in, because they have to. Put
Yeah.
it in as an assumption to hedge, then that's fine, but if they're like, yeah, it could. Could add another 300,000 to the project.
Which section in 6 is that?
It's on page.
I have
30.
the red line version, so I just want to.
Section 6, it's the first. Bullet and sub bullet 2 under the first bullet.
Six.
Sorry,
What?
it's under 10.2 technical assumptions, section 6. Of 10.2.
Oh, you're in 10?
Yes, I'm sorry. It's in the assumption section, the technical.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Sorry, I should have said that. Like, I don't know if that's a massive swing, both in terms of design and construction, if it's just. Ask them how confident they are or not.
Where are you seeing the pile thing?
You go into 10.2 technical assumptions. Then go down to section 6. First bullet is an initial submission plus 1 cost estimate. The second sub bullet under that is piles are assumed to not be required.
Okay. Well, I think that.
And we're doing the finishing too. We're doing the finished surface, right? The paving.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna need piles. Cause it's a concrete box culvert.
Yeah.
There's nothing, it's a hole, that's a pile would be. Like the things.
Yeah, they put it in here, so I'm just curious
Yeah.
why they put it. Is it just like standard or?
Yeah, they
I don't
cover,
know.
they cover all their bases.
Yeah. I just read assumptions carefully because I know that's how you.
So this is date of completion into 28, and since it's rolling, the way the payment structure is rolling as the construction ongoes, does this mean it's gonna impact like our outlays into 28, or does it get front loaded into the?
It would go, so that's the thing, that's kind of the decision we're making is if we're gonna be doing this, then that expense is gonna be. Yeah, 2027, 2028. And we will have to figure out how we're doing that, how we're paying for that in those budget years. Now, any bridge construction. Anyone who's doing a bridge project. Wants that project to get done within the year, so you can be in the stream from May till September, so that's like. It's in everyone's best interest, including the contractor, to have it done. So the plan is for the construction to be done within that period, but if they're like, the camera went off again, Michael. If there are, one of the things that, there's things that can make it, like the Boyce Mill Bridge is gonna be completed in 2027, but part of that is the landscaping plan. So it's, shouldn't be a huge part of the project carrying over, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm answering your question, but.
Oh, kind of, I'm just trying to understand like what the budget process is gonna look like in the next couple of years.
Well, and then we're gonna deal with this all over again with Project 32.
Yeah.
Which has to be. Something has to be done with it, and that road. The alternate route is not covered under the grant.
I'm
So-
going to be expensive.
Yeah, so we're, I mean, this is just. We are handling all these expenses right now in the next 2 years.
Can I ask an unrelated question?
To bridges,
Yes.
why?
Did we get any confirmation from the county that they're gonna help cover the difference of Boyce Mill?
Oh. Good question. Thank you. Did not have that on my list. I know you asked me to do that, and I'll reach out to them.
Thank you.
Okay, so how do you guys feel? So you want me to ask if there's anything we can change in the design process that would lower the cost?
I'm curious if it's possible. I mean, they gave us a quote. If they only put in there what's necessary, there's not much option there.
My understanding from doing the scope meeting is that everything that's in here is required.
Yeah, I mean, it
We
does.
took out the right of way. That's the one thing that got trimmed, is they don't think we need to do any right of way. And there was a budget for that, but after looking at it, they feel like that is not an expense we need to incur, so.
It sounds like it's gonna be more expensive doing it on our own. So. I'd like to see if we can get the price down, but. And I mean, they inflated. Waited,
Cost was 10%.
is that what these numbers on, the tectonic numbers? That's a 10% escalation. Over our grant.
Oh, no, they don't do that. They did the actual cost estimates.
Okay, so their cost estimate. They think it's more realistic that the cost is actually gonna be $750 for construction.
That's the escalation. Yes, that's the escalation for 2 years. I thought he said 4%, but I didn't. He said he's like, you just should always factor in an escalation. Yeah, that's 4% over 2 years. He just said, just always rule of thumb. Construction estimates you increase by 4% every year. So that's what that is. But everything else, the design and the resident and the inspection is their estimated cost for those things. And the way our grant application was put together is like percentages of construction costs, which is why he said they're so wrong. So.
It's a decision tonight.
I mean. We need to move, if we're going to do this, we need to move.
What's your recommendation?
My gut is that we should move forward with this.
With the grant tool?
Yeah. If it was gonna be like, you could build something nice for the same amount of money, I would say. Let's let go of this, because the work that goes into this is so much, but. Given I mean, I can do like a little bit of digging, but if it's gonna cost us $100,000 more, it's worth the time, you know, to do it this way. If we do it ourselves without going with this funding stream, and it would end up costing us
It's gonna be,
$500,000, or I think it's worth it to go with this.
it's gonna be an inferior product because it's not up to federal spec.
Yeah, and then he also was like, what type of town do you have and what type of repair work do you do? Like, you know, I thought that was a good point, like, do you have a history of putting Band-Aids on things and not, like, that's the other thing that you should consider, but you know, could we do something for less? Yes.
Would it last longer? No.
No, yeah.
We also have 4 other flag bridges.
3 more red flags.
What if we make the town an island?
A moat.
Don't you allow?
Do we need the roads?
Huh?
Do we need the bridges?
We wouldn't need them, we just needed drawbridge.
Bring back the canal, that's it. We're building a canal, guys, that's it, that's the answer, bring it back. Yeah. Do you need a motion?
No, I mean, I think really it's more, if you guys give me the go ahead, then I will ask Tectonic to send us an agreement, and then that's the thing that we would be voting on.
Okay. I would support that.
Okay.
And they're the only game in town because the grant was written with them.
No, they did not write our grant, and they are not the only game in town. They are who we selected for this. And for the other one, we went with this other firm, and then
Well, who's that?
Barton and Luguidis.
I wanna know how to pronounce it. Laquadice?
Okay,
Laquadice?
so
Will they look at each other's bids?
they they also all got to look at our cost estimates.
I mean, the rates didn't seem egregious. The estimates didn't seem egregious. The overhead is really high. But
Yeah. There's, you know,
maybe they could work with us on price.
okay, I will, I guess.
Turn the lights off earlier. Cut the overhead costs.
Our, I mean, the voicemail bridge is $800,000 over budget. Now this one isn't eligible for any county assistance, but Project 32 would be, so they did put that one on the list.
This is not county administered money? I thought both of those were county money.
What? The Bridge New York?
That those specific ones were only available to Ulster County, I thought, when we applied and got those. For Sundown and Project 32, I thought that was like only Ulster County could compete with those. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I don't know what you're talking about, at all.
I go back and watch, nobody remembers this? Okay, never mind, disregard.
Those were the bridges that we
Was
applied
Aaron
for.
the supervisor?
No.
No, Mike was here and
I
I
remember
brought
there
back
being
my
something
mouth.
that,
Trauma?
I remember that.
See?
yeah,
I thought that allowed
Ulster
for
County had a
travelers
pool of
and
money
stuff.
that was like only competitive to town in Ulster County, but it doesn't matter. You're saying,
This is not that pool of money.
right,
Well, Michael, I think that grant is where our fund balance was.
you're saying the county is not gonna bail us out if we go over.
Not for Sundown,
Voice.
because it's not an off-system bridge. Project 32 and Voicemail are. So
Oh.
those two are eligible for assistance from the county. But
32 weeks.
yes. I had a meeting with them last year, but this is the thing that Michael wants me to double check. Whether or not they can still commit that. Which they did in a meeting with our engineer and it's in our cost plan. That funding is in our cost plan, but
What determines whether or not it's in the county redistribution?
so it has to do with the type of bridge that it is. So there's like county bridges, state bridges and local bridges and then
Can?
Um,
Burning it down.
so it's like the type of bridge and the culvert is not that. So I'm not being eloquent and I only have a general sense, but I could get the answer to that. All right, so we are tentatively moving forward with this. See, UCRA contract. We're gonna delay this. If you guys have comments, let me know. Mary Lou identified two things that she is going to contact their attorney and negotiate better. She didn't like the insurance clause.
You have to like match your insurance.
Yeah, there's something, and then there was something else. So she's gonna come back. She'll have something, we'll put this on our December agenda. So she's going to handle speaking with their attorney about amending this. Was there anything else that you guys wanted me to see if she could?
Yeah, but I have a question. Can't remember if it was in the share or in my version. I think one of them was the matching, whether we actually have that level of insurance. or not.
Did you do a comment you're saying?
I thought I just highlighted something that I wanted to ask about, but I copied documents. We can also move on and I can ask it if I find it.
Well, we don't have any franchise agreement updates, right?
No, I sent them a note again today just to see. It's been about 3 weeks. I just asked if they had any feedback on it.
I had another amendment that I forgot. Guys. So I'll give you a second.
Section 8C, I just wanted to, the town may choose to implement the agency's organics and reuse program. The purpose of fulfilling its obligation in the section. So do we implement their organics and reuse program? Or are we consider having our own organics?
We are considered to have our own currently.
So this requires us to provide an annual report on the organics and reusable materials diversion report. I don't know if that's something we're doing or if they actually want us to do that.
We do a report.
About that specifically.
It's in the report that we do.
Okay, as long as they're fine with what we've been providing, I just didn't want to sign up for like. Document that we had been doing. And then it was the insurance in an amount equal to the town's existing coverage. With them named, so she's asking about that.
The thing that she had. That she wanted. To do. Was. The agency shall obtain and maintain its own, at its own expense throughout the term of this agreement to the extent commercially available to cover the properties and liabilities of the agency. That's what she had a problem with.
Where's that?
It's the first sentence before the one that you're talking about.
Oh,
Just like a full application.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
okay.
she's like, is it not possible for them to get insurance or something? So she wants to find out why they have it written like that, because there's one. Um. Yeah, I'll ask her what this report. What they're referring to is, because they actually don't give any, I mean, you're right, they don't really give any. We do have a report that is required by the DEC that goes. The UCRA like is the one that coordinates the reports getting filed, but ultimately it gets filed with the DEC. I was assuming it was that, but
Yeah, if we have our own reuse and diversion program, like, why do they care?
Well-
Why do we have to provide a report to them?
because they are responsible for reporting. So food waste is a mandated, composting is like mandated now. And I think they are the enforcement mechanism of that
County or state?
county. And so I think they probably just want to have data. Just like if we decided to do our glass recycling through someone else, we would need to provide data on how much we are recycling. That's like a requirement.
Exhibit B. I noticed that they say hazardous and unauthorized waste, they list batteries and paint.
Okay.
I thought. That we were saying you could throw away. Like. Little,
AA batteries?
yeah,
Yeah.
like the little solar batteries.
Yeah.
So we're allowed to do that, and we're allowed to do dry paint, that's completely dry, right? I just wanna make. I'm just curious if we're not supposed to be accepting those.
Huh?
If we're not supposed to be putting batteries and dried paint in this.
No, so, the batteries that they're referring to are like car batteries.
Right,
and
that's,
lithium battery.
well, they don't specify that. Just trying to clarify, and then.
Car batteries we can sell.
I get the core thing. In exhibit B. 32. We OSHA compliant?
Yes.
And make sure,
I can't remember.
that's all I,
Well, Michael, can you just let me know what you want me to ask Mary Lou to look at?
well, she's looking at the insurance thing, then I think it's just the. Oh, you mentioned that you were gonna follow up on that report, so I think it's just the insurance thing for Mary Lou.
Okay.
Do we have times that I can make a motion to just do my committee update, because I wanted to just publicly announce the holiday wreath making workshop for everybody.
Yeah, so we're done with the UCRA contract. Okay, so Alexis, you can take it away with both your committee reports and the memorializing resolution. Okay, I had it as an agenda.
Okay.
Hopefully everybody got a chance to look at the memorializing
Resolution,
so you can say that out loud 1,000 times.
just Basically, this is a movement by Indivisible Ulster, that was passed by the Ulster County Legislature as well as some area towns. And attached was also a one-page flyer breaking down harsh economic ramifications resulting from the big beautiful bill stripping of various state social safety nets. So I am supporting the passing of this memorializing resolution, so we can stand together as a town and look forward to protecting our vulnerable citizenry. And also to just say that the taxes paid by our hardworking citizens of Ulster County are intended to support our communities and not for another tax break for the wealthy who enjoy the largest proportion of wealth in over 50 years. So this language can be workshopped as we see fit, and I have the contact information of Steve Bush if we have any questions as we go along. So looking forward to everybody's feedback.
I've been trying to do some digging on it, just from some of the verbiage. I
Yeah.
wanna see how many actual like medical parcels or hospitals we have it, like if we have to name them or anything in that, like it, so just to see a number that are like direct medical costs,
Totally.
you know, trickle down. So I've been trying to find, I just got to the assessor role, like 20 minutes ago in the meeting.
Yeah.
I'm trying to dig through to find the different,
Thank you, Charlotte.
categories.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that we technically we have a few like assisted living facilities, but I don't think that like actual like medical or doctor's offices, like by definition, so I wanna make sure like whatever we actually have, it gets included in the verbiage
Mhm.
for detail.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did give it most of a skim through, and I think it is very well written. You said the committee wrote it, right? Not you.
I'm sorry?
Did you draft this? No.
Oh, no,
like
this
the,
is-
like,
yeah, this
Shift
is-
one to bit the work
Yeah.
off of one, okay, that's what I.
Yeah, this
didn't
is
wanna
their
see someone else wrote it,
verbiage.
so.
Yeah.
I was like, I think it's like basis, like for a starting point,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
good for us to grow off of. I do think we need a workshop at like. Where we all come with like our red lines or additions or.
Do you want to work on that with me?
Yeah, I totally can.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
And look, cause I would also like to see us have, if we are gonna adopt this, I'd like to have some more specific numbers for, like the line where it says Ulster County Comptroller Mark Gallagher reports that Ulster County has over 17,000 or 10% of the county residents on SNAP. That I'd like to like add on and do what it is here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
make sure that we put a lot of town specifics in there, and I've done a lot of
Exactly.
grant writing for the area, so like I'm
That's
happy.
exactly what I was
to work
hoping,
with you,
yeah.
kind of get with those numbers, so
Yeah,
that we
for
can
sure.
like Rochesterify our own sections in addition to the county ones that are here, kind of.
Yeah, and that's also like information that I want to be aware of and explicit detail also as we move forward and people are going to become increasingly impacted. Cool. Anybody else?
My general comment is, without getting into specifics, because they only glanced at it very quickly, was I would tone down some of the potentially inflammatory language and just make it that.
Yes, that was the exact feedback that I gave to Steve Bush, saying that we want to be sensitive.
I mean, even calling it big beautiful bill, I think just call it the Omnibus
Oh,
Budget
right,
Act of
right, like the current
2025.
budget, yeah. That was exactly, I know, my instinct too.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm at, like, I don't love the exact verbiage and framing of it, like, I like the factual points that are in here, and I think
Yeah.
that's a good working point. But I'm a firm believer in more honeys and more bees with honey than vinegar type of thing, so I
Yeah.
think
Yes.
that if we make this more to like what the like title is like a memorialization of social service needs for our town, and like then the title with like the impacts of.
Yes, this is not a
BPP, you know,
politicization.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
It's
no, no,
about
I know.
Paying the
Yeah,
dollars and
right,
cents
yeah,
out on the ground.
Yeah, no, but I think that this is
Yeah.
a great starting point for us to build off of, and yeah, Alexis, I I'll text you, we could
Thank
figure it
you.
out, we can go do coffee or something.
Yeah.
Do a deep dive on data.
Yeah.
It would be helpful for me where we're citing specific details. I know they have a lot of citations here, but knowing where this information,
Sources, yeah.
Yeah, sourcing.
what we sign off on it.
I think we are all on the exact same page on this, so. Do you guys think you wanna have it ready for our December meeting?
For workshop, you mean not business?
Or, well, I was gonna
Literally
say our
got to it,
business,
We got them
but,
rescheduled anyway, right?
Wait, we have to
Wait, our first meeting's on the 11th.
Yeah.
You're saying for the 11th, and then the next one is not on Christmas.
correct.
When did we reschedule it?
Christmas Eve.
There we go. Oh, yeah, we said we were all gonna go get Chinese food and watch a movie on the, oh, no, the big screen's gone. The big screen's gone. I just looked over and like completely. I was like, it was
I
there.
think on there.
No, it's not the same, it's not on VHS.
Yeah.
I've been fighting with my VHS player trying to get it. Like the past week. I'm like in a war without it, in like the storage unit, like unpacking it, I'm like, I need it.
Also, just dug out of VHS.
Just,
You guys tell me which agenda you wanna add it to, I guess.
I just am in school right now, and my finals, my schooling, my semester ends on the 10th, so that's why I'm like, I can't promise to give my full effort. Like, I can definitely have a meeting with you, but like to like get everything typed up and
That-
structured.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
Appreciate a little bit more time.
Like,
If
I'm
it's just
willing-
We're all the same format for in
Yeah, we can-
January, you know?
We can meet and you can just tell me what you want me to do the grunt work on and then.
Okay, cool.
we just do that.
Yeah, and I can give you resources that I've used from grant writing for solid data numbers.
Okay.
And things like that to.
Yeah,
and
so
also
I'm,
report already.
I'm willing to commit to the earlier one. That's
Okay,
that's
cool.
the
Yeah, yeah, that's
business
fine with me.
meeting.
Yeah, I can definitely have time to like meet us. But yeah, if you can do the typing and things, that works.
Okay,
Thanks, Alexis.
yeah, thank you guys. All right, so that's. So for my committee reports, Climate Smart would like to recognize Stacy Barnes for her work in aiding with bronze certification. Getting the required documentation is painstakingly detailed and progress is hard fought, but everyone is committed to getting this done. Funding Futures, which is the grant that's working in conjunction with Climate Smart in town of Rochester. Under Heather Eckhart's leadership would like to announce a series of events available at rootedinrochester.org/events. Do we have that on the town website? Is it cross-linked anywhere or could we put it up anywhere?
I'll check with Stacy on
Okay,
that.
thanks.
It would be great to get it on the website because I've got a lot of texts asking me what it was and I'm like, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
this is our grant, but don't
Yes.
quote me in case I'm wrong.
Yeah, we are like now, it's so hard saying we because I feel like I'm in 3 different pots here, but
Yes, you're
Funding Futures Advisory Committee is now like launched. There was a community luncheon today at discussing Rochester's heritage and natural beauty at the fire station, and December 7th is, sorry about the mask, is a holiday wreath making workshop featuring locally forged materials. Attendees will participate in a conversation about nature, history, and storytelling. And due to limited materials, we would really appreciate RSVPs. Again, that's on rootedinrochester.org/events. And then there'll be at least one more program, probably in January. More details to come. This will be a family-oriented event hosted at Skate Time. Agricultural Committee is in the process of scheduling next meeting, but would also publicly like to say we have 2 seats open. Interested candidates can submit letter of interest and resume to Supervisor Nowen. ECC Committee has received the final forest inventory report for the watershed preserve from Michael Gage. This will illuminate interesting aspects such as old growth tree census and degree of invasives that should be actively managed. ECC will discuss the report next week and disseminate findings. As always, the town board is welcome to meet and tour that parcel. Probably better to do it before it gets really, really cold, but John would love to take everybody on a tour. ECC would also like to remind everyone to take a look at the pollinator garden in front of the town hall and publish a list of native plants as well as local business and individuals who generously donated to the project. And ECC is still waiting for a final budget from Del Umbra about the recycling pilot program. So thank you, everybody. That's it.
Great. So the December meeting review. We are meeting on the 11th and the 23rd of August. And then I'm not in a position to tell you what's gonna be at our business meeting. Michael will be chairing the meeting on the 23rd. But then we have our organizational meeting happens very early in the year. Usually the first or the second, which is a Thursday and a Friday. So I might need to make sure that we schedule that I need to make sure we schedule the organizational meeting at one of our December meetings. Cause that's what makes the town run. Keeps the lights on. Okay,
Plan for a long meeting.
Podcast.
are you guys gonna do a podcast? Is that what you said?
Talk
I said-
fast.
Oh. I thought you were saying we're gonna make a podcast.
I don't know, I literally thought about
You're
that
right.
though, like, let's do local governments in action.
I'm working on it, actually.
Are you really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Okay,
We'll call it executive session.
First 2 pages block.
so the one thing that I had a note and I forgot is, appointing Pat Davis as our seasonal HMO. We haven't done it for this,
What's the nation of you?
the highway,
We did it for.
HMEO is highway maintenance, like.
It's an acronym.
No, it's heavy.
No, you're right.
Machine, equipment operator.
Yes.
It's just an MEO, isn't it?
It's, yes, you're right. So I'll make
Which
them,
is just a machine, not heavy. Machine operator.
Not a CDL.
He doesn't see it.
I can.
just hold on just a second, let me make sure I got
No,
updates.
I'm not a CDL.
I know they rented a backhoe before.
You don't need a CDL, but
That's what I'm saying, like, you don't need it for an MEO.
Drive a contractor up a hill.
Heck, even Turtle Pepper was allowed to drive. Trucker.
I'm getting the dates.
Is the CDL mostly for like working the machinery or taking it out like on the road? What's the purpose?
It is, CDLs are for anything over a certain number of axles.
Axles, that's
weight.
right, yeah.
So it doesn't matter if it's outside of ag equipment.
Yeah.
Tractors, like with like a carriage on it, for axles amounts. That's it, but,
Interesting.
yeah, it's a certain number of, it's the same with like forklifts, you need to technically be certified to track the forklift.
I never was.
We're gonna
Sounds like
do that
regulation.
next week, because I don't have the dates.
What?
I don't have the dates, it's not the actual quarters, it's like. I have to do specific dates for that, so we'll have to table that, we'll do it next week. All right, motion to enter executive session. For the purposes of discussion of. Litigation between. The town and M&T Advanced Building Solutions, and then just matters regarding to the employment history of a particular person or persons.
second.
Let me just.
Take time.
8:47.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Usually, it's good for the minute. But